hello and welcome to today's edition of the Pastor's Study. You know, deception is a horrible thing. Deception of our neighbors is equally as horrible, and what makes it difficult as much as anything is the fact that being your neighbor, you have to live next to him. And Solomon tells us that deception of our neighbor is like a guy who goes out and throws arrows and firebrands and promotes death. It's a shameful thing. It's a horrible thing. And it's hard to get on. And then he says, after he's done all of that, and after he's deceived his neighbor, he goes, "Oh, I was just kidding." Well, guess what? You've done damage. You've hurt an individual. How many times have you had somebody do something to you or say something to you, and then when you start to get upset, they oh, calm down, I'm just kidding. No, they weren't kidding. They just got caught, and now there are consequences, and so they try to laugh it off. And the damage is done. The hurt is there. And when hurt is there, it's very hard to repair that damage. It's very hard to deal with that damage. He says if you have a fire and you take away the wood, guess what happens to the fire? It goes out. He says, well, the same is true when you stop whispering, when you stop talking behind people's back, when you stop tattletaling, and when you stop gossiping. Guess what? Things quiet down. Things are never as bad as they seem. Usually there's one or two individuals who like to stir the pot. They talk behind backs. They do things. They create problems. They don't solve problems. They just create a problem. He says, you remove that. And he said, guess what? The fire goes out. He says, when you whisper, it's horrible. He says, do things that put the fire out, that keep the fire out. He says, charcoal. You can build a fire and that little ember, he says, a little bit, and the next thing you know, that flame is back. The same is true, he says, when you're around a contentious individual, things can get engulfed in flames very quickly. So the warning for us is to walk away, to get away from those inflammatory situations and get away from the one who creates the strife. Until next time in the Pastor's Study, goodbye and may God bless.